In the name of our Creator, Redeemer, and Sanctifier, Amen. Please be seated. Many years ago, I was in Alaska fishing with my dad. He is a salmon troller. He lives in Sitka, Alaska. And in high school, and then a little bit into college, I was his deckhand. And he prefers to fish outside the main drags, because in those main drags, there's pretty fierce competition for those schools of fish, and you have to be aggressive about your place in the rotation. He doesn't enjoy that, so he goes out by himself, even though it means he usually doesn't catch as many fish. And one early morning, we had gone out by ourselves to a bay where he had gotten a bite before and thought he might try again. He and I had a system where he would go out back to the pit to pull the fish, and then we'd swap. He'd come back in the house and I'd go out and clean and ice them. We went back and forth like this all day. We'd usually leave the New York Times Sunday crossword on the table and keep adding answers to it throughout the day as we thought of them. So I was curled up on the bench at the table, 4 something in the morning. And all of a sudden, I hear, "Shell, you gotta get out here." And slightly annoyed to be dragged away from my book, I put it on the table, pulled on my rain gear quickly, and went outside. And as I stepped through that threshold, I could hear the sonar start to make a bunch of noise. And when I got outside, I realized that we were surrounded on all sides by this vast pod of orcas. We were completely alone with them. And there were adults and calves, and the sonar was going off because they were playing under the boat, popping up on one side and going under, showing the babies how to do it, and then they would do it. They were coming up to breathe, and we'd catch a little wink of a bright eye here and there. They were feasting on the same salmon we were trying to catch. Their shiny black backs would rise and fall into the gray water. And my dad immediately cleared the lines and stopped the boat. Even though there were thousands of dollars worth of fish in there, just so we could sit together in the quiet with these great, fantastic, beautiful, mighty beasts, and watch them dance near us and eat and breathe and play. It felt like we didn't breathe for about a year. Really, though, I think it was about 20 minutes, and the pod moved out of the bay, and we started up the motor again and got fishing. This is not different than what happens at a baptism. Let me explain. Today, we are going to baptize a gorgeous, beloved baby of God. As the church, we do not claim that baptism is a transaction. We do not say that a random person with a stupid, expensive seminary degree, plus a little bowl full of water, plus some words from Thomas Cranmer, forces the Lord of all creation and all the universes there are to make an appearance for a few seconds to do something mysterious and invisible to a baby. We are not paying in prayer for this child to receive some kind of mystical protection, like in the old belief that the baby would suffer hell if they were to die unbaptized. We are doing something quite different in this act. We are coming together as a community to name and acknowledge and affirm and celebrate something that is already happening in his life. The God of all life, the God of lenticular clouds over Mount Rainier and tulip trees and Sitka spruces, is already pouring a catastrophic amount of love and grace and blessing over this tiny child. It is already happening. God cannot help but to do so for each new soul that comes into this world, for every piece of God's creation. That is the thing God is powerless over, is God's just inability to stop loving. This is who God is and what God is, and it cannot be stopped. All we do in the moment of baptism, and especially on this morning of the resurrection, is stop the motor. Get quiet and notice that this is what is happening. Every person in this room, like a newborn baby, doesn't have to do a single thing to earn this love. It's just there, waiting for you, behind the curtain of your busyness and everyday life. The orcas are still out there, as beautiful as ever, whether or not our attention is on them, whether or not we can see them. So as we move into this next part of the service, this moment of baptism, see if you can breathe a little more slowly into your deep belly. See if you can let time slow a little. See if you can remember that that waterfall of love is cascading over you too, as you promise to support this new soul in his life in faith. See if you can catch a glimmer, just for a moment, of the reality that this love pours over the world all day, everywhere, on the good and the bad, on the grief and the joy, on the fear and the hope alike. See if you can remember a time in your own life when the veil between our world and this reality got thin, and you understood for just a moment how everything is just brimming with beauty and love. And rest in it and be glad. The Lord is risen indeed.